Hey guys, William K here. So today we're gonna see how we can play a pop ballad with I think the best free guitar VST plugin available on the market right now. So that's what we're going to play.
That's it. It's actually a simple pop ballad in B minor, upon which I added a second guitar to create a melody. So in this video, we're going to see how we can play that strumming part with AGML2 by Amplesound. So I'll give you the link in the description below. So you can start learning some tips and tricks to create your own strumming patterns fast and easy.
Okay, so now if you're not familiar with AGML2, you can download my free ebook in which I come down to the very basics of that plugin so we can go straight to the point in this video. So check out the link in the description below and have fun.
Alright, so I'm using Ableton Live here, but the plugin will work in every DAW, so no worries. Just make sure the tempo is set at 95 BPM. And once you've done that, just drag the AGML2 file into a new MIDI track. Go to the Strummer view, activate the strum mode on. In the chord bank over here, select a B minor, and that's it. And in the strum grid, just click on the little arrow so it deletes the default pattern and we can start writing the song. So we want the song to start with a downstroke, or more precisely a downstroke bass open as they call it in Amplesound. So downstroke bass open can be triggered with that sequence. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to hold, and I'm going to drag it right until the third quarter of the first beat. And after strumming down, I want to strum up. So I'm going to click here, so it triggers an upstroke open sequence. And it sounds like this. Cool. So now, though it's a pop ballad, I want to create energy, and a good way to do that is to add a muted strum on the second beat.
So why do we do that on the second beat? Well, as you know, in almost all pop songs, emphasis is always put on the second and the fourth beat. It's usually there that the snare comes through. So if we mute the strum at this precise moment, we'll create energy.
So let's add a muted strum at the start of the second beat with that sequence. So it sounds like this. Cool. So we strummed down, we strummed up, we muted the strum, and now we want to strum down again. But this time we're going to do it with the downstroke treble open in Amplesound, which can be triggered with that sequence. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to hold and drag it right until the end of the second beat. And while doing so, I'm going to switch chord from B minor to B minor 7. So in the chord bank, I select chord number 2, I select a B minor, minor 7 here, and I'm going to play it in second position. So it sounds like this. Okay, but we need to write the switch in MIDI language. So I'm going to close the plugin. I'm going to insert a new MIDI clip. I'm going to extend the clip to 4 measures. I'm going to write or draw a C1, so it triggers chord number 1, and a C3, so it triggers pattern number 1. And I'm going to write or draw a C sharp 1 at the precise moment where I want to do the switch from the B minor to the B minor 7. And I want it to be just here. I click on play, and here's what we have. Cool. Right, so let's come back to the plugin. So because we anticipated the third beat with the B minor 7, we created a surprise to the listener. So we don't really need to strum or to add any notes at the start of the third beat. Rather, we're going to extend the B minor 7 until the second quarter of the third beat. And after that, we're going to play a root note, which is in that case a B. And that can be triggered with the arpeggio string 5 sequence of Amplesound. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to hold and drag it right until the end of the third beat, and it sounds like this. Nice. So after that, I want to strum up. So I'm going to trigger a upstroke sequence again, just like this. And now I want to prepare the arrival of the second measure. Second measure will be played with an A major and a G major. And a good way to make a transition from a B minor or B minor 7 to an A major is to play an F sharp. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a note to the B minor 7 we have here, just like this. And we're going to trigger an arpeggio string 6 sequence, which now plays an F sharp. And we're going to draw it right here. Cool. So let's create the second measure now. So second measure will be played with an A major and a G major, as we said earlier. So in the chord bank, chord number 3 will be an A major, and chord number 4, a G major. So for the G major, we're going to add a little D note right here, string number 2, fret number 3. So when we brush high notes, it will sound a little bit better. Okay, so we're not going to strum the same pattern. So we're going to add or create a new pattern. So we switch to pattern number 2. We delete the default pattern and we'll add a downstroke bass open right here. Now we don't want the downstroke bass open to be played for a very long time. So what we're going to do is that we're going to shut it down immediately after we play it. And how do we do that? Where we can use what I call a ghost muted strum, which can be triggered with this sequence or that one, doesn't matter. So you click, you hold, and you drag it all the way down until you see that velocity is set at 1. So you actually can't hear the muted strum, so it becomes a ghost muted strum. And it sounds like this. So you see it shuts the strum immediately after we play it, and that's what we want here. So after that, we're going to add a muted strum and a downstroke bass open again. And here's what we have. Okay, so let's continue. So at the start of the second beat, now we want another ghost muted strum. We then want to do the same that we did for the first pattern. So we anticipated the third beat with a downstroke treble open and a chord switch from the B minor to the B minor 7. So we'll do no different for the second pattern. So we're going to add a downstroke treble open. We're going to hold and drag it to the right until the second quarter of the third beat. And at that precise moment, we'll switch chord from the A major to the G major. So I'm going to close the plugin. I'm going to come back to the MIDI clip. I'm going to run or draw a C sharp 3, so it triggers pattern number 2. And I'm going to add a D1 that triggers chord number 3. And right where we want to do the switch, I'm going to draw a D sharp 1. So it sounds like this. Okay, so let's finish the pattern now. So we come back to the plugin and we're going to do the same that we did for pattern number 1, where we played a root note, an upstroke, and then a transition note. So for the root note, we are playing a G major now, so we can't really do the root note with an arpeggio string 5 sequence, because the root note of the G major is placed on string number 6. So we need the arpeggio string 6 sequence right here. So I'm going to draw that. Then I'm going to draw an upstroke. And for the transition note, now we want to go from a G major to a B minor. And a good way to make a transition between those two chords is to use an A major. So I'm going to close the plugin. I'm going to go to the MIDI note editor. I'm going to write or draw a D1. D1 will trigger chord number 3, which is an A major that we have here. So I come back and I will play an arpeggio string 5 sequence, which will trigger the root notes of the A major. And that's what we want. So it sounds like this now. And that's cool. Okay, so now we need to work a little bit on the velocities to add realism to the strumming. I mean, a real guitar player won't strum his chords with the same intensity all the time. That will vary. So we need to do the same in our programmation. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to pattern number 1. We're going to decrease the velocity of the first downstroke to 70. So you click, you hold, and you drag it down slowly until you see that the velocity value is set at 70. Then we're going to let the upstroke at 90, the muted note at 92. It's okay. And for the second downstroke here, we actually do two things. We anticipate the third beat and we switch chord. So it's probably because that chord is important in the melody. So we're going to actually increase the power or the velocity of the second downstroke. So we click, we hold, and we drag it up to 100. Okay, so it sounds like this. Better. So it's good, but I'm a little bit disturbed by the way the root note sounds. I mean, when I play guitar, when I strum a chord and suddenly I want to play the root notes of that chord, I often mute the notes, so it sounds smoother. So with that best free guitar VST plugin we have, we can actually trigger the palm mute mode right when we are playing that root note, which is position 1.3.3 on the time frame. So we're going to draw a DO, which triggers the palm mute mode, and immediately after that, we're going to come back to the sustain mode with a CO right here. And it sounds like this. So I like it, but now it's too smooth. So I'm going to come back to the plugin and I'm going to increase the velocity of the root note to its maximum. And that is better. Okay, so let's go to pattern number 2 now. So for the two first downstrokes, we will decrease the velocity to 80, right here. So it's not a precise sign, so 79, 80, it doesn't matter. So again here 80. And for the muted stroke, we will decrease the velocity to 50, just like this. And for the downstroke treble open, like we did for pattern number 1, we're going to increase the velocity to 100. And it sounds like this. And that's cool. So now we're going to come back to the MIDI note editor. We're going to duplicate what we did. Oh. we're gonna add some measures to the song, and we're gonna drag everything again and duplicate it again. Okay, so from the fifth measure, we'll have the verse, and we want to play the verse in palm mute mode so it sounds smoother. So let's delete these triggers. Let's add a DO so it triggers palm mute mode. And let's not forget to add a CO at the very beginning of the clip. So when the clip repeats itself, the plugin doesn't stay stuck in palm mode, okay? In palm mute mode. So it sounds like this. Okay, so it's cool, but it's like too smooth. So we're gonna come back to the MIDI note editor. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the velocities, but just for the verse. So what we're gonna do is add a pattern number 3. We'll import everything from pattern number 1, and we're gonna increase these velocities. So for the first downstroke, we're gonna go with a velocity at 100. Then for the second downstroke, which is the most powerful because we switched the chord, we want something really powerful. So let's set it at the maximum, 127. And then for the upstroke here, we're gonna go with a 110. And the transition notes, let's go to 125. All right. Okay, so same thing for pattern number 4. We're going to import everything from pattern number 2. We're going to increase the velocities, say 95 here, 95. Then for that one, 127, the maximum. Then 120, 127, let's go for it. And the last one, the transition note, let's go with 125. Alright, so now I'm coming back to the MIDI note editor. So to trigger pattern number 3, we need a D sharp 3 over here. And to trigger pattern number 4, we need an F sharp 3. So it's right here. Okay, so last but not least, it would be cool to have a transition between the intro and the verse. So I'm coming to the fourth measure, and I'm gonna draw a G sharp 3, so it will trigger pattern number 5 that we will create right now. Pattern number 5, we import pattern number 2, alright, and instead of having these notes, we're gonna delete everything and drag it all the way right until the ends of the measure and set the velocity at 100, 120. And there we have the song.
And that's it for today. So I'm gonna make other videos on how to play fingerpicking, solos and broken chords with the same plugin, AGML2. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you have liked that video, and tell me in the comments if you think that it's indeed the best free guitar VST plugin available.